bitching and moaning and bitching and bitching and bitching and bitching.
And I'm serious. I'm not going to sit back and take this fucking shit.
Following All Out on pay-per-view this past Sunday night, I've been forced to vacate the AEW World Championship, as well as the AEW World Trios Championship.
What the fuck is going on with AEW at this point? I mean, it has reached a stage that it's funny. By now, you may have known what had happened. If you don't, I will just brief you up. CM Punk went into the post-media scrum and said a bunch of shit. He targeted Colt Cabana, he targeted the EVPs of AEW, Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, he targeted Hangman Page especially. He took a special liking to him in that press conference. I mean, he was just bitching and moaning about everything. I mean, it was sad. After a couple of minutes, it was sad to hear that, because a man of the stature of CM Punk just coming out and going off, reacting angrily to a couple of situations like that, it doesn't make sense. And just because he has achieved a whole lot of things in this business just doesn't give him the liberty to go out and attack someone publicly like that. And because of this, obviously the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega took offense to that. Why not? Because you're saying something publicly, you're accusing someone publicly like that. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks never said anything about CM Punk publicly. The main issue I am taking with this is Tony Khan. That guy is the boss of AEW. He is the CEO. He's the founder and CEO of AEW. He could have easily jumped in and cut that conversation off, cut that question off, and just took the conversation to the next topic. But what did he do? He did nothing. He just sat there and fucking apologized to him. Yes, Tony Khan apologized to CM Punk for what the EVPs had done to him. Why? The EVPs should be respected, and here the boss himself, who has appointed them as the EVPs, himself is not respecting them and is apologizing to the talent. And that too publicly. If he apologized backstage, that's a whole different thing. You're hashing things out. Fine, good for you. But publicly, that just pisses me off. After CM Punk left that media scrum, he went into his locker room. Young Bucks and Kenny Omega stormed into his locker room, as they're saying, and there was an altercation. They were fighting. There were chair shots being hit. Apparently, CM Punk was throwing fists at one of the Jacksons, and apparently Ace Steel, who is a good friend of CM Punk and his former coach, I believe, bit Kenny Omega. He pulled his hair and bit him. What are you, 9? I just can't wrap my head around this fucking situation, because these guys are adults. They should talk things through. That's why we say the older you grow, the wiser you become. And here we are just fighting and biting each other. And in reality, Tony Khan will not fire CM Punk. That's the thing here. If Tony Khan thinks to fire Ace Steel, then he has to think about CM Punk as well. Because CM Punk, obviously we all know, if someone has his back, he will have the other person's back as well. So if Tony Khan fires Ace Steel, then CM Punk will just leave AEW. No problem for him. So it's double or nothing at this point. No pun intended. It's double or nothing. Now the problem will be the AEW locker room. Almost everyone will have turned their backs on CM Punk because of what had happened. I mean, this dude is just going around, because he has got this apparent creative control. He's just going around and talking nonsense. I mean, these are company's internal matters. They shouldn't be disclosed to the public. Yes, there are dirt sheets. Yes, that's all there. But still, you're directly giving that to the public. It just puts AEW in a very, very bad situation. And already they are in a bad situation. And probably for the first time, WWE can't be blamed in this situation. The situation was created by the morons who took creative freedom for granted. It doesn't solve any problems for AEW. Even if Tony Khan fires CM Punk, even if he fires Ace Steel, this does not solve any of the problems, because the problems lie within Tony Khan. The problems run deep than that which we don't know. And Tony Khan is a boss at the end of the day. He's the founder and CEO of AEW, but practically he has no authority over his talent. If anyone needs to change, it's Tony Khan. That attitude needs to change, and he needs to have some fucking control on his talent. And the press conference is simply the example for that. Now, everybody who was part of that altercation is going to be suspended, apparently. The list of those receiving the suspension includes obviously the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, CM Punk, Ace Steel. Now, look at these names: Pat Buck, Christopher Daniels, Michael Nakazawa, and Brandon Cutler. Now, what did these four guys do? What did Michael Nakazawa, Brandon Cutler, Pat Buck, and Christopher Daniels do to deserve this suspension? Apparently nothing. They were instead trying to save from that physical altercation. They were pushing each of the teams away. So the situation has just gone beyond control at this point, and probably there is going to be a Dark Side of the Ring episode for this. It should be the dreaded night after AEW All Out. That should be the title of that Dark Side of the Ring episode.